I want to welcome everyone once again to this session. Today we have an amazing, actually this is the very first panel discussion that we're having for the campus editions. So for the campus editions, they're mostly sessions, we have them weekly every other Tuesday. For undergraduates and fresh graduates, basically we've been having technical and non-technical sessions over the same. So today for the very first panel session, I'm really excited to learn from all of you and welcome everyone else. Thank you for joining in. I think I'll hand over to Jackie, then you can introduce the others and then we can continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nancy. We are extremely happy to be here as your first panel, where we are happy to share our knowledge and also get questions from you. Today, we are going to be speaking about growing your personal brand in cybersecurity. So you're going to learn from me, Jackie Ayegba. I am the founder, CEO of Tech Talks Fireside Chat. That's just on the side as my career. I'm also in SAP Security GRC and Information Security. Here we have Michael Soretti of Cybersecurity Simplified. He will be talking to you about Cybersecurity Simplified and his brand and how he grew it. Then we have Nate, who is a security engineer. He's going to let you know how he got into cybersecurity and how he's looking to thrive. Then we have David with us from Kenya. Nate and Michael are in Texas. I am in Atlanta. David is in Kenya, and he's the owner of CloudSec Kenya. So he's going to tell us about how he's grown his personal brand as well. So now I'm going to go ahead and hand over to Michael Soretti of Cybersec Simplified, and he will give you a talk on that. Go ahead, Michael, over to you.
Thank you, Jackie, for that good introduction. By the way, She-Hacks, thank you so much for having us on. It's an honor for us to talk to you all. We don't take this for granted. Let me pull up my slideshow here. Are you guys able to see it?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, since we are like four in a panel, I just wanted to share like a quick 10-minute pointers on branding in cybersecurity. So like Jackie said, my name is Michael Ritimo. I've been in the security space for at least 15 years plus, going on some more. Worked in various fields within security space. So hopefully I can impart what I've learned along my journey. We want to talk about branding within cybersecurity, right? So a couple of things I want to talk about is what exactly branding is and the steps you can take to build your personal brand, right? I'll give you some pointers of things you can do immediately to build this brand. So branding is more of a long-term objective, right? It's something, you're not gonna do this overnight. They say Rome was not built in a night, right? You'll take small steps at a time, and within a period of time, you will build this particular brand of yours, right? So what is branding? So branding is how you market yourself, what people talk about once you leave the room, right? So for instance, you heard of Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is known as soda that quenches your thirst, right? You heard about Mercedes-Benz. If you want the car that's classy to drive, if somebody tells you about a Mercedes-Benz, they don't need to give you any further explanation about it, right? You know, you heard about maybe Toyota Probox, right? The Probox is known as, if you're in business and you want to, you know, transport stuff from A to B, that's the car that's going to build your business. So all these brands have something in the marketplace, right? So somebody just has to tell you the name and you will associate the brand with what the characteristics you know about it. So as far as cybersecurity, you also want to have a brand, right? So that there was a guy who talked, I think a few weeks ago about, I think the HR director from Safaricom, how you can interview, right? So if you have a brand, your resume doesn't really come into play as much. People already know you by your brand, right? So you will instantly get hired just based on your brand. You don't have to go there and convince the hiring manager or the directors that you're the person for the job, right? They've seen your name around, so they can associate you with your brand. So I wanted to give you some steps, 8 steps to build your personal brand. So the first thing I want everybody to take out of this is know your why. You have to define your objective, right? Why are you in cybersecurity? Why are you in information security? So yes, cybersecurity, information security pays a lot of money, right? But that cannot be the reason you're in this field, right? You cannot be in it for monetary benefits, right? You want to be in it because of your passion, right? You have to have a passion for this field. You have to have a passion for technology. You have to have a passion for changing within the technology field. So you have to have a serious passion, a serious why you're getting into cybersecurity, right? Second thing I want you guys to look at is they always talk about elevator pitch, right? So the elevator pitch is what's called the 1 minute spiel you can talk about yourself if you meet, say, a CEO, a leader in the elevator, or walk into your car. So being able to have a concise statement about yourself that you can sell to anybody at any given time, right? So one thing you can do, write down a paragraph about your strengths, what you enjoy about security, that you can easily, if you were to meet somebody, if you were to run into, the CEO of Amazon, somewhere in the airport, and he's like, "Oh, I'm Jeff Bezos. Can you tell me, can you tell me about yourself?" And you want to be able to have that off the top of your head. You don't want to be thinking, you don't want to be mumbling. You want to have that ready to go. So make sure you write down a paragraph, just a short, concise, paragraph, less than 1 minute, that you can, rehearse it. You can be able to, whenever anybody, if you have the opportunity, you can be able to sell yourself. Another thing you want to look at is your resume very closely. I've looked at a lot of resumes. A lot of people put information that's not relevant to their career, right? Put information that's relevant to your career. So for instance, if you worked in, say you worked in the gym, now you're working in security, and you're putting in your help desk experience, and you pulled cables in a job 20 years ago, like you want to have whatever's relevant to that particular job, right? You want to have, and you want to make your resume very concise, right? When you write your work summary, your career summary, avoid having over lengthy description, right? A lot of people do not have the patience to read, just make 3 sentences, your summary of what you've done in your career, have your resume with the bullet points, with exactly what you've done, how it's relevant to the security field. And just concise. The points take out of this, make it concise and to the point. The fourth point, have basic security concepts on your fingertips, right? In case you have to contribute to a conversation, if you're in an interview. So for instance, if somebody asks you, what is the role of information security? Or what's the role of cybersecurity? So we know the role of information security is to support business objectives and to do this in a secure manner, right? So you want to be able to talk about this intelligently, right? And also in a concise manner, right? So yes, there's all the details about the CIA triad, but you want to be able to talk about this from a high level business perspective, right? Something you can explain to someone who's not in the field, something you can explain to a CEO, executive leadership, the board of directors. Fifth thing you want to look at is certifications, where if you can afford, some certifications are very, very worth their money, right? So anything like a Security Plus, the CISA, a CISM, and especially the CISSP, that's the gold standard within security. You want to make sure you attain at least one certification that you can place on your resume. When you have a certification on your resume, it tells prospective employers, it tells other professionals that you've mastered your craft. So you want to have a certification. In addition, continuous learning. You want to be always in the field learning the new concepts. You want to be looking at the latest blogs from people like Krabs on Security, Schneier's blogs, all the top security bloggers, some of the sites, Darknet Reddit. There's so much information on the internet that you can get. So make sure you stay up to date on security and also try to get a certification. Another thing you can do is push relevant security content out, right? So if you have any social media presence, you can record a 2-minute video. Say you find something interesting, about, say, phishing, how people can stay cognizant of phishing threats. You can record a quick video. Like if you receive an email, hover over the link, see if the URL looks legit. These are the things you want to look out for, right? So push content if you can. There's a lot of social media out there, from LinkedIn to Facebook to Twitter to some of the newer ones. So just one step at a time, push the content out. Also, you want to build a relationships network. I'll share with you some networks that you can join. There's a lot of them that, especially since this is a female-oriented group, there's a lot of groups that support women. So I'll share some of those groups. Please join them. There's a lot of people out there who want to help. They want to build your network, and they can really, really assist you. And the last point is also gain a mentor, which if you build a network, you'll be able to gain a mentor, right? A mentor will be able to walk you through any difficulties you have, any challenges you have, kind of shadow you, through your security journey. So those are my 8 steps on how you can build your personal brand. And I will share with you some of the networks that you can join. Since this is She Hacks, the networks I put in here are kind of tilted towards the women, but these are very good groups. In fact, I think some of these groups I've attended, there's one of them that has a Kenyan as the leader. So you might want to join these groups and really network. So there's the Women in Cybersecurity, there's Women's Society of Cyberjutsu, Women of Cybersecurity, WASEC, there's OWASP if you're into web development, for women in AppSec, there's SANS Women Immersion Academy, there's Code Like a Girl, there's so many of them out there. These are the top ones, but see the ones you like, join them, attend their meetings. Many of them meet monthly, and then you can network with a lot of the people who have been in the industry in there. Like I said, find a mentor if you can. These are things you can do right now. So if you join those groups, you can network with some of the people within those groups, and inevitably you'll find a good mentor that will work for you. Also, another thing you can do an internship. There's several sites online that you can do internships, right? This is one of them, cyberinternacademy.com. Another thing you can do, I think someone has a comment. Let me see what it is. I can't see it right now. Maybe Jackie, you can tell me what the comment is. If there's any diversity reports out there, companies that hire women, companies that are promoting women in the workplace, because it's, I think the last study that came out is we have 80% of men in the cybersecurity industry, 20% women. So there's a lot of companies that are promoting that gender equality. So look for those companies. Those are the companies you want to target for your interviews, to network with and to try to get foot in the door. The last thing I want to give you is follow relevant hashtags on social media so you can network with all these people. There's cyber women, women in cyber, women in cybersecurity, women in tech, women in security, women in AppSec, women in STEM. I think that's the few items I had that you can do immediately to start. It is a journey, right? A journey starts with one step. A journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with one step, right? Just make the first step, and within time, you will get there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Michael. We have one question from Kim 3, who wants to know, is there anything for the boy child, or are the men left out of this? I think he's feeling left out.
Not at all, not at all. Like I said, this was geared towards, it was tilted towards women, but there's a lot of groups like this. Also, some of these groups allow men to join. So just join the groups, right? They will network with you as well. It's not just because it's a women group, they're not gonna help you out. But I can always come up with a list of the groups for men, but there's several groups out there that you can join. There's several groups out there. You just have to look for them. I mean, go to LinkedIn, cyber, there's minorities in cybersecurity, Blacks in cybersecurity. There's a lot of groups like that.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Your presentation has been absolutely amazing. I bet we will leave questions to the end when we have all presented so they can collectively ask us questions. Is that okay with you, Nancy? Is that okay with you, Eve? If we just go on, then we can get questions at the end?
Yes, sure. I think that's even better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So the next person we're going to have is David. David, do you mind taking over? David? Have we lost him maybe? I don't know.
Maybe
so Nate, David, can you hear me?
I can
Nate,
go
let's do a swap. I'm sorry?
I can go as well. Yeah.
Sure, you go ahead and then David will go after you.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Nate.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for this opportunity to speak to our future generation. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of you here who are just almost cracking into cybersecurity or working towards that. Future pen testers, future CISOs, future social engineers, you name it, I'm sure they're all here. So it is an honor to speak to you all today. Maybe I can spark a fire under someone today. Maybe we can do that for you. I would love to hear stories afterwards of your successes. Yeah, maybe this will be the generation that will drive Kenya into a more secure space. I will speak on just a few points, just to reiterate what Cybersecurity Simplified Mike Ratemo said. Everything he said was actually already in my presentation, and I agree with everything. He was actually my mentor, so everything that he has taught you works. I can be a testament to that. So my story is, of course, a little different than many. I've actually only been in cybersecurity for about a few months now. So yeah, it's pretty fresh. Which can show you that the knowledge that is going to be shared here today will be beneficial and should work for you guys. And uh, I'll get right into it. I've been in IT for about 9 years total, a few months in cybersecurity. What helped me get into this field? What are some of the tips that worked for me? I found out that it is very important to work with the recruiters in terms of which platforms they will be using, and LinkedIn is a very popular one. That was one of the ones that I worked on and cleaned up as much as I can on top of my resume. Now, having a clean resume ready to go is important to link together with your LinkedIn. That is where every recruiter uh, works on. They log in the first thing in the morning when they log in. They check their LinkedIn. They do what they need to do and reach out to all the applicable applicants that they're looking
Am
for.
I doing it? To go off. It will start speaking.
Hello? Can you guys hear me okay? Is my sound coming through fine?
Yes.
We can hear.
Oh.
Can hear you.
Yeah, so back to my point, in terms of my job search, I had to apply a lot. So apply, which means that you don't make any shot. You don't make any shots. You don't take. If you don't apply, that's basically denying yourself the position before you even found out how far you could have gone with it. There are a lot of positions that are posted that are not, you might feel like, oh, this is too high, this is too much, I don't have these skills, but it is important to apply to the positions as much as you can, any positions that you're interested in, any direction that you want to take, because at the end of the day, it is you who has the power. I believe it's not the companies, it's not I believe you have the power to direct your career to the path that you want to take. So it's important to apply to the positions that you want to be in and shoot for those positions. Um, Another thing that really helped me out was group study. Mike mentioned it a little bit. You need to know your craft. If you're in an elevator and someone asks questions, you need to be knowledgeable in the space. You need to have the answers. So I spent a lot of time studying. I spent more than a year studying for everything cybersecurity. I was uh, I was lucky enough to have a group that I studied with. So a lot of group studying on the side besides school, networking with other people who are in the space. Very important, very important point, which Mike also mentioned. This will come up a lot. Networking is probably 70, 80% of what you do in terms of getting to where you need to be, not just in cybersecurity, but also everywhere else in life. And that's a very strong point that I can't mention enough. Besides practicing your craft and knowing what you need to do and maintaining a positive attitude in the face of no. It's very easy to get discouraged when you apply and you apply and you apply and you get told no, no, no all day, every day. But you're always just one step closer after every no. It's important that you just keep moving and keep trying and keep applying and trying to get to your goals. So those are just some of the few things that I implemented in my search for uh, a career, in the search for a position. And those are some of the points that you should definitely take into consideration while moving forward into what you guys are looking for. I did note down a few questions that I thought might help in my presentation. So I'm just going to work through these questions one by one. So the first question I felt like might come up is what separates you from other cybersecurity professionals? What separates you from your coworkers at work? It's pretty simple. It's not that, oh, he has 20 years of experience and he's much better than I am. It's not the fact that he's a rocket scientist and he's the smartest person around. It's purely sheer work ethic and attitude. Those are the things that I've noticed in my only few months in the career. And I do have stories that I can tell you, but unfortunately, we don't have time for that. But those are the two things that you should definitely focus on. If you have a good work ethic, it will always trump any any other aspects that you might feel are in the way. So that is important. So the next question: how to find longevity in the space? Again, you must have a passion for this. Cybersecurity is hard. Anything is hard in life, but cybersecurity is hard, and you must have a passion for this, just like you must have a passion for anything else if you want to be successful. If you want to go the distance, that is what is expected of you. You should have you know uh, a passion in this field and to stay long in this career. Okay, what is the most important factor to consider when you become a cybersecurity professional or an aspirant? I already mentioned this. You are only as strong as your network. Your mentors, your friends, the people that you study with, uh, the webinars that you attend after work, and just keep in contact. It's important to keep in contact with a large group of people who are in the same like mind as you, who are trying to pursue the same things as you, and learn from them. You learn from every person you meet. Okay. So those are just some of the few questions. The other one was, yeah, this looks like a lot of work. Do I have to be busy 24/7 to succeed in cybersecurity? Do I always have to be working? Do I always have to be learning something? Short answer is no. You do not have to spend 12 hours a day, 24 hours a day, every single day working, trying to get to where you need to be. You also have to realize you have limits. It's while this is a career that you're going into that might keep you very busy, it is also important to achieve a work-life balance. This is important. This is something that I've struggled with, that I'm still trying to work on. But it is important that you always make sure that you keep your family close, uh, leave time to dedicated to your absolutes. So chat on Saturday or Sunday. Make sure you have time for that. Make sure you set time for yourself to work on yourself outside of cybersecurity as well. So take a break. It's important to take a break and take a load off. And yeah, so those are just some of the few points that I had for today. I will definitely be open to answer any questions after this or even after this meeting. So I appreciate the time. Thank you for the space, Nancy, and whoever owns the Zoom. Thank you for the time.
Nate, thank you very, very, very much. Those pointers were absolutely phenomenal. I picked a lot from you as to what I need to do career-wise, and so far so good. You've come into the industry and you're blazing the trail, so thank you so much for that. We'll take questions at the end. You're very welcome. So now we are ready for David. David, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. How are you guys?
Fine, thank you. So now over to you. The floor is yours.
Sorry, I had to request for an early, a second chance. One, because my network is really misbehaving.
Oh, sure. No
so mine, I'll go a bit out of the technical and focus on the governance.
Okay.
And I think for anyone who's trying to get into the IT space, security really needs to understand what the governance of it is. Because the governance is what brings in the technical, the operational, and the management to understand why they need cybersecurity in the organization. And that has been a big challenge where you find the CISOs are the ones who are just involved and not connecting with the other people who are, let's say, the sponsors. And that's why most of the organizations have failed or really invested so much in cybersecurity without understanding the processes or what are their assets, what is the value of their asset. You find organizations spending so much money just securing a very small thing that can be salvaged in case of an event. So my goal here is to just enlighten people, even as they try to get into the space. It's good to learn into the basics and understand what is cybersecurity governance. Basically, it's where everything falls into place, where you have a list of what you're trying to protect, and you have a sequence of events of what will happen. For example, the first thing you need to establish your current state of your environment. Complete cybersecurity assessment, which basically I call it complete maturity assessment, where you check everything. And that is your data, your human resource, your environment, entire space, so that you'll be able to understand what are you able to lose and risk, or what are you able to transfer to maybe the insurance, or what is the management able to say, we accept this risk and sign up for it. In the event it happens, you as a CISO are not liable because the management has accepted the risk. We call it the risk acceptance. From there, then we start going to now looking at what are the controls? Okay, what are the requirements that we need to ensure that we have already understood our risks? So you create and review and apply and update all cybersecurity policies and standards and processes, which are also aligned to your organizational goals, because your CISO may not understand the organizational goals if they're not well enlightened or well in touch with the management. So the management has to say, this is where we want to see ourselves in the next many years. So the CISO has to say, based on what you're saying, this is what we need to do. So you have to be able to have a full process of what your organization does. And then from there, you have to approach cybersecurity on an enterprise lens, not from the technical perspective. The management has to understand they own the company and the risks involved. So as opposed as traditional wise, CISOs are just employed, they deploy intrusion detection systems, firewalls, and that's it. When an incident happens, no one knows where the failure was. It could probably be internal, external, or even supply chain who gave out so much information to vendors who have access to your information, which is what most of organizations are failing to understand, that third-party vendors, external parties, are also supposed to be involved in your risk, whether personally or through NDAs, where they sign and say, we understand your controls, we understand this, what should not go out, what should remain inside. So if that is not taken care of in the very final analysis of your risk list, you'll be able to find there are so many loopholes that will be used. Then from there, you now start, of course, you have to now give awareness of security, enterprise security awareness to all your employees consistently, and reviews, because what happens today may not happen in the next 3 months, or there are changes. For example, technically, there are changes on the systems, configuration changes. All those people have to be educated and told this change may affect this and this thing. So security awareness training is very important for you to be able to understand the posture, to make sure that the posture of your environment remains as it was when you started the journey through the cybersecurity. Then the other thing I'll talk about is you have to constantly monitor, measure, analyze, and also report and improve on what gaps you found after whatever you've implemented to make sure that your environment is secure. Otherwise, you may have systems that monitor your applications, monitor your networks, but if there are reports that are not analyzed or reviewed and updated, you're basically not doing anything good to your environment, because breaches happen all over. Yes? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Can hear you.
Okay. Yes, I can hear you now. But you've been hearing me, yeah?
Yes, we have. We've had everything.
Okay. So the other thing I was going to talk about is the risk, cybersecurity maturity model. Things have really changed, especially with COVID. So you find people are working from home and they're so vulnerable to attacks. For example, you've given someone remote access through a VPN, which is not secure. So you find attackers now are really targeting remote workers to ensure that they bypass the enterprise security in the organization through the home unsecure systems. So those are things that we need to understand. Cybersecurity is growing so fast. The risks are increasing more and more. So we have to be able to secure the entire enterprise from home to the office, to the users, and constantly tell them and also share logs on what is happening, the risks involved, so that people are not caught off guard in terms of I was not aware, or you're sharing information that you're not supposed to share. Someone asks you for information, pretending to be one of their own, then you just give information. Your kids could be playing with your laptop and accidentally do something that could compromise your laptop, but also compromises the entire enterprise security. So those are things that I would say when you're trying to get into this, you have to understand the entire, what do I need to know about security? Even before you start doing the hacking part, you have to understand, what am I trying to protect? Is the asset I'm trying to protect very valuable? Is it worth doing it? Or is it not worth doing it? And then that's why your advice on management, the expected risk, if this is not mitigated or protected or transferred as a risk to someone else, to a third-party vendor, or just accept and say, it's a flood, it happened, or something happened. I mean, it was out of natural causes. Those are things that we say you cannot do much about them. It's part of enterprise security risk. I am more on enterprise and cyber. Enterprise covers a lot of cyber, because what is not covered in the enterprise will be definitely found as a cyber, because of this. Everything is online right now. But if you're able to protect from the basic, you're able at least to secure some level of effort that you don't need if you're attacked just because you didn't know that your enterprise, from your resources, from your human resource to your perimeter network, into the depth of the network, all those things. So I would say, I would guide someone to say, to start from the basic, understand why do we need this and what is required for me as an individual. Policy-wise, governance-wise, how do I bring all the teams together to understand the risk is not just mine, it's ours to play, not for the CISOs, not for the security operations analysts. It's for everyone to understand if this goes wrong, we are all down. I think that's what I can say for now. Hello?
Hey, we can hear you. Thank you, Davey.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your great insights on that, on governance and how people, making the decisions that people make actually truly affect the manner in which whether the organization will be able to run, stay open or not. So thank you so much for that part. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for the policies. Thank you for the roles of the CISOs, what they do or do not actually do. Sometimes we think they do so much more than they do, but we have to understand really at the end of the day, people, the responsibility at the end of the day really is based on your responsibility and how you act. So I want to say thank you so much, Davey, for your insight today.
You're welcome.
Now
Any questions can be thrown along.
I'm sorry? Dave,
I'm saying I'm open to any questions.
We are going to take the questions at the end. We're going to take the questions at the end. So what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Did you hear what I stated? Okay. You heard me, Davey? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take over, and then I'm actually going to piggyback off of what Davey stated. And my part is going to be you as the brand in your cybersecurity career, the emotions behind the human being taking over the cybersecurity career or trying to get into the cybersecurity career. So I'm going to talk about resilience. I'm going to talk about grit. I'm going to talk about tenacity. How do you even actually get into these careers? There are so many roles in cybersecurity. There is not one. You can get in from an audit perspective. You can get in from the build architectural perspective. There's several roles that you can get in as a tech lead. You can get in as a team lead. There are several roles you can take in cybersecurity. So what I want to talk about is the third door. What does the third door entail? The third door is a book that was written by Alex Banayan. When we talk about the third door, this involves whenever you get to a nightclub, there are several ways to get into the nightclub. You can get in through the front door. What does that look like? Sometimes that line at the front door is pretty long. So sometimes you can get VIP, whereas you pay a little bit extra, or you know somebody who knows somebody who gets into VIP. But how about if you're not able to get into the cybersecurity career, either using the front door in the nightclub or the VIP? There is always in life something called the third door. You can either get in through the kitchen, you can get in through a window, you can get in through the back door. So there are various ways. Do not always look at cybersecurity and figure out this is the standard manner in which I need to get into cybersecurity. There's only one route. So that's why I stated there are several roles that you can take. Even if you had a career prior to cybersecurity, you can find a way to shift into cybersecurity. So I'm going to tell you my story of how I've gotten into the security space. So I'm going to give you an example based on the third door on the Lady Gaga and how she got into the music industry and how she was able to get booked correctly. For her to get booked, they required that, they had managers in New York. Lady Gaga was working at a bar. She was trying to get her career going, but she did not have a manager. So each time she tried to call the nightclubs to book her stuff, they kept her in to come in and perform at 6 p.m. She was working. She did not want to perform at 6 p.m. and 6 p.m. was not really a good time to perform. The greatest times to perform were 10 p.m. So without a manager, the nightclubs never really used to listen. Do you know what Lady Gaga ended up doing? Lady Gaga ended up pretending to be her own manager. So what she did is that she lowered her voice, pretended to be her own manager, and started calling these nightclubs and booking herself in. So when they figured out, that she had a manager, she started getting the slots at 10 p.m. So when I'm talking about the third door, and I'm talking from a career perspective, You can either get in through traditional school, like how you are. This is the campus edition. You can get in from another career. You can also shadow somebody and get yourself that position. So that's why I'm talking about having the third door, having the mentality to look at issues as they are and state, you know what, if I'm not able to get in the standard way, have I looked at all other methods within which to get into this career to be able to get there? So now I have this Tech Talks Fireside chat, and I'm going to merge all this as to why I keep talking about the third door, and the third door being some type of mentality. You always have to find ways in. So I'm going to talk about Tech Talks Fireside chat. Why did I even start Tech Talks Fireside chat? I started Tech Talks Fireside chat because I noticed that a lot of people have the imposter syndrome. They hear cybersecurity, they hear tech, and they think these careers are complex. Are they complex? Yes. Yes, they are, like Nate stated, they are. But is anything in life simple? I think we put effort into the things that we want to put effort in. Things can be simple, things can be hard. Things get simple after you put in the hard work to make them simple. So Tech Talks Fireside Chat is a talk that we have typically every Tuesday or every other Tuesday that actually invites people to come in and have conversations in regards to tech and cybersecurity, because this is a cybersecurity space. I'm going to specify to just cybersecurity, where we have people at novice level, we have people at expert level, we have people at intermediate level. We also have we give each other advice. We have various topics, we ask questions, and no question is too stupid. Whereas if somebody's feeling like, oh, I don't know if I feel that I belong in this space or that I can make it in this space. No, nothing is stupid. And also it's in terms of the people who are, say, at mid-level management, who are feeling stuck and want to get a senior level management. We have those types of conversations that assist them to be able to grow. We also have people sitting in the cybersecurity space who are in careers, but they want to go the entrepreneurial route. What do we do with this? With the entrepreneurial route is giving people tips on how to figure out how to make businesses out of careers that they've already had. Sometimes people keep a career going and others keep a business. Sometimes they run them concurrently. So those conversations take place, and in that way, then you get to know what is happening in the industry, what are the buzzwords, what roles you need to look up for. You could have been sitting in one role for several years and you wanted to change or shift, you wanted to go into leadership or get out of leadership. So that Tech Talks Fireside Chat enables those conversations to actually take place. Now, I'm going to tell you about my career journey and how I got into the security space, not even expecting to be in the security space. And that is why I started Tech Talks Fireside Chat, because I had the imposter syndrome, wondering, one, would I even ever belong in tech? And two, cybersecurity scares me. Can I really actually fit in these spaces? So for me, it is for me and it is for you. So sometimes you're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can really do it. Yes, you can. My career started as in the tech route. When I came to the United States, I started at the front desk, I started in the mortgage industry, then managed to get into the tech industry on the functional side. I went to school to learn how to do SAP SD. In my head, that is what I had seen. My career is going to be as SAP SD as a functional analyst. However, what did my first job entail? My first job entailed running a production support shop. That was the first SAP implementation they had, and they needed it to work. The implementation was going to go live, but we needed support for SAP SD. We needed support, and that's sales and distribution. We needed support for FI, that's the finance piece. We needed support for MM, that's materials management, from the functional side of things. What does production support look like? It looks like supporting production. What does production entail? It also entails the security aspects of this. Yes, we have the functional side that's working, but what roles, how are they getting this? How are the users being able to use the system, So it was also working that security piece of it, and then having to work with basis when we're talking about, how is the architecture looking? Do we have enough disk space? What is going on? And then from a PI perspective, when we talk about translation, how does this happen? Then the warehouse management. So production support entailed working all that together. So in my head, I got into the career thinking, I'm going to be a functional analyst, everything happened. But I truly, truly loved sitting in the production support space. And what did I end up doing after that? Learning so many security pieces, because if you actually think about it, when you're running production, a lot of the issues come with the users maybe not having access to one piece of the element or the other, and the ability then to understand what the issues were across the board. I understood it across the board really, and being able to understand the security space. I moved on to the next company. I was great at Vistex, and I picked up the security as well. Moved on to the next company with Vistex and security. However, I'm gonna keep this security specific. Worked in the Vistex and functional role for a while, but deeply moved then into the security space. And with that, then for several years, starting the security space, doing SAP security and GRC, doing global support for 23 instances then of SAP and GRC, and then moved to a different company with the security effort of it, SAP security, GRC, and now sitting in the information security space. Now, one of the things I'm going to tell you about getting into the career, sometimes you feel nervous and you feel worried. Michael Serretti of Cybersecurity Simplified is a cybersecurity guru. So what have I done in these spaces when I have conversations? I'm like, Michael, I'm looking to transition into this space. How would I do this sitting in this space? I'm sitting here, how do I shift? And it's working concurrently, hand in hand with Michael in my space where I sit in between IS and SAP security, IAM. How do I shift? So for guys, if you're looking to shift, it's also having a mentor, having a guru who has been in that space for a while to tell you how to, you can either shift upwards or you can shift across. How do you take that shifting and how do you do that? So it's having the mentors to go with that. So I'm going to talk about then your brand and how have I managed then to survive and actually thrive in these spaces. I will say from an EQ perspective, that is emotional intelligence. All across these companies, what have I been doing? It's learning to read people, learning to understand people, reading the room in the energy, and then working with these people and feeling being able to be the glue, being able to unite. So I stated I came to the United States as an immigrant, as a Black female, as a Black person. And a lot of the times now I'm sitting in rooms with men, either Caucasian men or Asian men. How am I sitting in these rooms and how am I looking at, how am I fitting here? I use everything about myself. I look also at UVP, that is unique value proposition. What do I bring to the table? Do I feel intimidated that I am a female? No, I don't. I use what is my power. Mine is unity. Mine is unifying, and then bringing that and reading that energy into the, using my UVP and bringing that energy into the room. And then also, what else am I? I'm an extremely hard worker. And I put that into place. So whenever we have buyers, when I talk about reading the room, I can look at situations and say, you know what? This person is doing this person is doing this, and this is not gonna work. At some point, something's gotta blow. So it's looking ahead of the curve and ahead of the game and putting those fires prior to them taking place. Or also from an EQ perspective, understanding people and knowing when you need to pull somebody to the side, because sometimes personalities do not blend. You know, person A doesn't quite really like working with person B. But because I can read those things and see those things, I figure out how to match them. Because at the end of the day, what are you trying to do? You're trying to protect the company. At the end of the day, are people following policy? Yes. Sometimes no, sometimes. So it's looking at those people, and for some of them, why don't they follow policy and procedure? That is because they are not trained well and they do not understand, and they are scared of stating that they do not understand. So it is also the ability then to train the teams and actually sometimes personally call people to the side and give them extra training as to why they have to implement certain policies or do things in certain manners. So it is learning people, and that is my unique UVP, unique value proposition, and when I bring in EQ. And then when I talk about also being the wild duck, what does being a wild duck entail? What does it look like? Sometimes you have people who are smarter than you a lot of the time, and sometimes you are the smartest, no problem. Sometimes you have people who are faster than you, and sometimes you are the fastest. I'm not the smartest, I'm not the fastest, but I am the wild duck because I'm the one who is going to look at things at all angles, look to understand it, look to unify it because I'm looking at the bottom line at the end of the day. What is the company's goal and what is the bottom line and are we meeting it? Then I bring unique thinking and disruptive thinking to ensure that everyone comes together to ensure that the company's bottom lines and goals and policies then are met in that way. And so that is what I talk about when I say branding. It's what you bring to the table. And that I say I'm going to end it here and look to see if we have questions for the panel.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you so much. I've personally learned so much. I think I was even note taking, so it was quite enlightening. We have a number of questions. I think I'll just read through. Okay, just a minute. Okay, someone asked, someone asked, how does one build a career in governance, or does one have to wait until they become the ISO?
Once on that, what I would say is that there are so many online information that you can get from NIST that basically give you what the standards are. And from there, you start now understanding why some of these controls, ISOs, were built. So from there, you start now deeper understanding why IT security is important. I was saying there are different publications that are out there, set as standards by different organizations that someone can go through to be able to understand the basics. And some of them are built or publicized because of regulations and laws. And that's where we find some cyber crimes have not even been factored in. You probably go dry after cybercrime because those laws are not, although there's no publication that talks against it. So you have to, I would say there are several publications, even if you go to the net and talk about information security or cybersecurity governance, you'll be able to understand the basics, and that's where you build on. And from there, you'll also understand where your strengths are. Is it on the protection side, detection side, selling side, as Jackie said? You can be able to be a pro in cybersecurity by just understanding a product and all it covers. For example, there are some tools that give you very many levels of support of protection. As a salesperson, if you come to me selling to me a security product, I may ask you a question that you probably don't know, and I'll advise you, if you want to really succeed in this career, just go do your research. I can be a pre-sales engineer in a security product because I want to understand what it covers in terms of protection, in terms of detections, in terms of something we call MDR, manage, detect, and recover or remediate, and also what it protects. There are some tools that have been built into security systems that actually, if you don't have them, if a breach happens, you may not be protected. There are some that have now liaised with the law enforcement bodies. Like, for example, if you're a financial institution and you're not PCDI compliant, you basically have lost the case if someone attacks your payment card systems. So I would guide someone and say, you don't need a teacher for this. You need to just go out there on the internet, read about them, enroll on these simple courses. You'll find a lot of courses on Udemy, Cybrary, many other courses that are out there that can be able to benefit you. You don't have to wait until you graduate. You can be smart enough even when you enter a job that you know your stuff.
Okay, thanks, David. Maybe I can also put in my spin on
Sure,
this.
sure.
Yeah, so for governance, if someone is trying to get into governance, so basically governance is like the responsibilities and practices that are exercised by like leadership to provide like strategic direction, ensure like business objectives are met and risk is managed. So if you want to get into governance, you want to focus mainly on risk, right? So understanding what the risk to the business is, right? So being able to translate technical risk, technological risk, IT risk, and translate them to business risk, right? So that you can be able to explain to management where the critical, organizational risks are. So if you want to get into governance, one way that I've seen that's really easy to get into is maybe going for a role that has like governance, risk, and compliance. So like doing a CISA certification that has like IT audit. You work a lot with risk. You will be talking with management, the leadership, to understand how to categorize risk and present that to management. So that's a really easy way you can get into governance. Or maybe if you could look at getting a CISA certification. There's also another certification called a C-Risk. Both of them are from ISACA. They focus on risk. So, so the key piece is go down the risk angle to get into governance. And then from there, you can move up, because a lot of these roles move up into leadership, for you to become some kind of an enterprise risk management leader or CISO or a CEO, but you want to start off from the risk level. Thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the input. I think maybe I can ask a question myself. Maybe I can get your views from the panelists. It's a question that I get very often, and also I think it's an issue I had when I was getting into cybersecurity myself. Okay, cybersecurity is vast, right? There are so many domains, there's web, application, all that. So as a beginner, like, how do you know which area to focus on, since there's so much to look into? Maybe, yeah.
Sure, I can take this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So I can speak about my experience a little bit since I'm a little newer. I'm actually in PKI engineering, which is a public key infrastructure. I deal with the cryptography side of my company. It was not what I was expecting to be in. I remember actually the week before I had applied for this position, we were doing PKI studies, and it was a lot. It was a lot. It was, as anyone who's gone through cybersecurity, you know that the cryptography side of things is very math heavy, and a lot of algorithms and a lot of different kinds of cryptography types. So it can be hectic in that sense. So as you can imagine, that was not my first choice. But to be honest, when I worked through it, it got more and more interesting, and the topic as a whole became more interesting. So that can be one way of choosing, I would say. You can pretty much as easy as opening a book and look at the topics and find something that kind of speaks to you. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of different domains, PKI being one, being in a SOC analyst, security analyst. There's application security that a lot of people get into as well. So it's more of a matter of passion, whichever way you feel dragged. If there's an interest, it's okay to dig into it, and definitely as you're in it, you will learn more whether you like it or not. So it's also something that you can try first and see what you think afterwards.
Yeah, I totally agree with Nathan. Let me jump in here real quick. So that's a very good question that you asked. I was going to pull up a slide that I have here. So like you said, cybersecurity is very, very broad, right? Very broad role. So according to ISC squared, that's the body that governs the CISSP examination. They have broken down the main roles within cybersecurity. So you can see on my screen, these are the roles, right? So you have security operations, security administration, risk management, compliance, operation technology security, secure system development, penetration testing, forensics, and there's other niche fields. So I think for someone who's getting into the security field, the important thing, first of all, is to focus on the basics, right? Know all the basics within security, know what the CIA triad is, know what the function of information security is, know what the basic protection mechanisms are, encryption, all the different processes that we have within security. Once you've learned all the basic components within security, while we secure things and what to look for, then you can focus on one of these areas wherever your passion lies, right? And usually what happens is, as you're going through the basics, a lot of times you'll gravitate towards a certain area, right? You know, you might be reading and then find out, you know what, I really like risk management. I like to look at threats and vulnerabilities, and I like to prioritize things and figure out what is the most critical risk versus what is the least critical risk. Or you might, some people are more like, if you're into software development, you've developed websites, you might be like, you know what, I prefer secure software development, where I can go look at the risks on web applications, look at OWASP, find out why web applications are the hardest items, why, you know, attackers are really attacking these webs, right? Or you could, you know, if you like breaking into things, you could go into penetration testing. If you like to solve problems, forensics is for, you know, these are very specialized roles within cybersecurity. So just do the basics and then figure out what area you like. Sometimes you can double in one area. You might get into one area and then figure out, you know, you don't want to be in security operations. You know, you're working as a SOC analyst. You're looking at tools all day. Some people might find that monotonous. Other people might love that, right? So just go where your passion takes you, just like Nate said.
And I think I'll also just piggyback on that real quick. Michael, also just looking at what your past career or entailed, you know, like we have Val who went from accounting into cybersecurity and is able to leverage that talent as well. So if people look at a cumulative of what they've done in their past based on career and talents as well, and then jumping that to that, what comes naturally for them and the skill sets that they have from before.
Yes, I love what Jack is saying. Piggyback off of your current skill set, right? There's something that you know that you can transfer into cybersecurity, right? Whether you work in accounting, whether you worked in math, there's something you know that you can leverage and move with that into security, but they will make your work so much easier, right? Much, much, much easier. Use that as an opening launching pad into cybersecurity. Thanks, Jackie.
You're welcome.
Let me just put in.
Sorry,
okay, just before that, Nate, thank you so much for this slide. I think for me, I would say there are people who just join IT and probably doing network. I just IT support. As you're saying, depends on where your passion is. For example, I've been in IT operations for many years, and that's why right now I'm focusing more on risk management because I've understood the IT operations and the gaps. It looks very boring, as you're saying, because you're monitoring, you're looking at screens, incidents, but now that's where you identify why you now start asking yourself, why are these things happening? It's because probably some of the processes have been overlooked. And that's why, for me, I would say risk management compliance is primarily, for me, one of the things I would say, if you can be able to, but also it comes on experience. You have to first of all be able to analyze risks through the security operations level, then know where are these risks really happening. For example, you have something that is happening continuously. Is it because someone is failing to do something? Probably they've not understood the risks that they sit on. So that's where now risk management comes. Okay, compliance, then you go to risk management because you comply, then you manage completely and try and eliminate. Some risks are not, you may not be able to foresee the next risk, but now with the current security environment where you have artificial intelligence, where tools can be able to tell you, predict a risk before it comes, that makes it easier. But I would say, as you're saying, it's depending on where your passion is. You can even try all of them and decide, this is what I want to land into.
Right.
Forensic, as he says, very few people, it's an expert level. As much as it has a very low percentage, it's because it's quite deep. You're trying to look back at what has been happening. And probably you also liaising with compliance officers or security officers in terms of intelligence. So I would say it's try your luck where you feel you're most confident and not bored.
Thank you.
And then there's another question on the chat. And Davey, let me piggyback off of you and then share the question in the chat. What I also want to tell you guys is when it says try your luck where you feel that you're not bored, I will also tell you do it afraid. You know, sometimes some things look so intimidating and you may miss out on a career because of the name and you think you can't do it. Even if you fail the first time, even if you fail the second time, just go for it anyway for the area that you think you can excel. Most probably you'll fail, but get rid of that thing. Yes, you will fail. So fail again, okay? Get in somehow. I mean, after 5 tries, something will actually add up. Give me 1 second. Let me get on the chat. There's a question I want to throw to the panel real quick. Somebody was asking, what are the roles that do not require coding? And then the next question is, my passion is pen testing, but then I don't know where to start. So we have 2 questions. What are the roles that don't require coding? Who would like to take that? And my passion is pen testing, but I don't know where to start. Who wants to take what?
Okay, I'll jump in. So as far as there's a common misconception that you need to learn to know how to code to get into cybersecurity, right? That is a fallacy. It's not true. You might learn to some coding basics if you're into software development, right? If you're in software development, you're looking at applications, you want to understand what the common attacks are, you know, memory buffer overflows. There's different attacks that require you to be able to understand what's going on behind the code, right? So other than maybe software development and pen testing, all these other roles, you do not need to know how to code. To work in the SOC, you know, as a SOC analyst, looking at tools, you don't need to know how to code. Security administration, you don't need to know how to code. Risk management and compliance, they're very, very good roles. You know, just need to understand your frameworks, your NIST frameworks, your COBIT, your, you know, ISO 27001, all the different frameworks, right? So you do not need to know how to code. What was the second question, Jackie?
Somebody wants to know about pen testing. They are passionate about it, but they have no idea where to start.
Okay, good question. So pen testing. So this is an area that's very specialized, but we have a lot of people who are totally interested in pen testing. So the best way to get into it, right? Number one, YouTube. There's a bunch of videos of how you can do very simple attacks on anything, right? But this comes at a disclaimer. If you get into pen testing, know that you have an obligation to be very ethical pen tester, right? You're not allowed to break into people's systems without permission, into organizational systems. You can get into trouble, right? So make sure that you're doing it the right way. You're following the process, the steps that need to be done. You know, you want to do this in a virtual environment, a sandbox that is isolated from everybody else. So there's a lot of tools that you can look at, right? There's tools like Kali Linux that are free that you can download. You know, look up YouTube. There's a lot of videos on how you can use some of these tools. There's Udemy. Udemy has a lot of free videos on pen testing. If you go to like OWASP has something called OWASP WebGoat, right? It's an application that is designed for you to penetration test. It has a lot of vulnerabilities. So you can go there and using your tools, you can test, see what breaks, see what works. And then just network with, there's a lot of pen testing groups out there. For some reason, this is one of the highly areas that people are very, very interested in, right? So get the free tools, Metasploit, all the things you can find on the internet, Kali Linux. A lot of these are free. You know, some of the tools, Wireshark, that you can use to listen into network. All these tools are free. So just follow a course, YouTube, download the free tools. That's it that I have.
Thank you. Thank you. I see that Val has stated, 1 second in the chat, let me pull it up. Nate and Val are stating, Val states, so long as you have the basic principles, where did the chat go? So long as you have the basic, where is this? 1 second. Greetings from Steve Simeo.
Hi, Steve, my friend.
He says, hi, David, right? He's saying hi to you, Davey. Then we have the next one, I think, from Val. Nate states you can practice.
I can go on that.
Okay, go ahead, Nate.
So yeah, I just pasted a link in the chat. Tryhackme.com is a good resource. Definitely use the same disclaimer that Mike just stated. It's your responsibility to act ethically while you're practicing this. TryHackMe is a good resource. Hack the Box is also a good resource. But definitely, if you're trying to get into pen testing, it is one of the more harder roles to get into. It's a good idea to practice and learn your skills as much as you can while getting experience on the side as well. So you can maybe start on something entry level while working. You can have something set up at your home. For example, I have a VirtualBox set up. So on VirtualBox, I have Ubuntu, I have CentOS, I have Kali Linux, I have all the boxes that I want to use. So all the servers set up in that network, and then I just play around with them. You can download Snort as an IDS or an IPS, which is also a good WAF that you can use. You can play around with that. Those are just a few suggestions, but if you're trying to get somewhere, you definitely need to put in the work and maybe look at some of the certs that are good in the space. Like I know PWK is a really good cert for pen testers. It's a very good entry-level cert. I think it takes like 24 hours to do that test. It's brutal, but if you're working towards it, it's definitely something you can do. So those are just some of the tips for the pen tester.
Perfect. Thank you, Nate. Thank you for the input. And I'll also state that Valentine Mangena states, so long as you understand all the security concepts, you can be able to handle any role. You don't require to know how to code rather. And then let's see. And then after this, I believe I'll hand over. Kim says, guys, sorry to ask this here, but any linkages to attachment opportunities? I guess it's talking about internships. I guess Nancy and Eve, I'll hand over to you for that specific question. He's asking about attachments.
Okay, let me pick that one. So okay. For now, organizations prefer different students to apply online. And in that way, they'll vet whether you're qualified. And maybe I can give you Safaricom as an example, where you can try, look at the different STEM internships. It's not biased to women alone, as we used to have a program for women in tech, but it's now Technology Academy, which is more like any person who's in STEM. And therefore, it's a balance between maybe 50 women, 50 men. So you could try that, as it's always a program that rotates every other 3 months. So yeah, please check the Safaricom site on the careers page and see whether you can get something. And also other organizations like KCB and the likes have different opportunities. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and if you can't get something in person, there's some you can do online. There's cyberinternacademy.com. Check them out. They have programs that you can do kind of virtually, which kind of simulate an internship.
All right,
Okay.
Let me read the next question really quickly. Between installing, this is from James, between installing Debian in hard drive and using VM to install Debian, what is the best option between the two?
Between what?
Between installing Debian in the hard drive and using VM to install Debian, which is the best option between the two?
Install Debian on a VM. It depends on what VM. VMware?
Okay, maybe a response to that.
Right. Oh, sorry, go ahead. James is the one asking that question.
Okay, so James, I think for such a scenario, whichever tool you use, whichever material you want to use, it will work. I think it's mostly around the mindset and the preference of a person. Do I really want to use VMware or do I want to use Windows? Personally, I'm a Windows person. I only use Linux on VM on a virtual environment, either VirtualBox or VMware. So that works, either works.
And Tony Gidruff agrees with you as well. This depends on your intention. So I guess, James, I hope your question has been answered.
I think it also depends on your limitation, because if you do VMware or a VirtualBox, you can probably install other things on top of that. You're not limited.
Right.
As opposed to the opposite.
James, do you feel your question was answered? Maybe he's on, off, I don't know. I think we answered his question in all. Oh, he says yes, he has a thumbs up. And I guess with that, because we're at 1 hour, 19 minutes into the hour, Nancy and Eve, do you mind if I give over to you so that we can say our goodbyes?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, even for making the time. I know there's the time difference issues, so thank you so much for even making the time to talk to us. And that goes for the panelists, Michael, Jackie, David, Nate. It's such an honor. And we're hoping to invite you once again for another amazing session like we've had today. So before, I think I'll first give it over to Eve, and then maybe she'll say something. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Tim. This has been quite an amazing session. Personally, I've learned a number of things. And what was striking was the aspect of, like, you would rather fail now than regret later, like, why didn't I try this opportunity? Therefore, it's better for different students to take up any opportunities. Just keep on trying until you find the best suit for something. Thank you so much, Jackie, Michael, David, Nate. I'm not sure I missed out on someone, but thank you so much. This has been a fruitful session. Yeah. So over to you, Nancy.
Yes. Thank you once again. Thank you everyone who has attended the session. You've been with us throughout the session, and I'm sure you've learned a number of tools. So this recording will be put up on our YouTube channel. So yes, we'll be looking forward to our session on Thursday. Please make time and join us on Thursday. And thank you once again, the panelists. I'm actually looking forward to hosting you once again. Thank you.
Nancy, I want to say thank you so much. I want to say thank you to Michael for making the time. Thank you to David for making, thank you to David for making the time, okay. And thank you to Nate for making the time to come and have this panel with me. I'm really, I really greatly appreciate your time. And to everyone who was able to come today, thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Nate.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.